Rules Podcast with your hosts, Mario E. and Keith.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Dad Rules Podcast, where we help you dad better. I'm one of your hosts, Mario E. and Kid.
What's going on? Just glad to be back on the pod. What we got today?
All right, today's topic is going to be fortune favors the bold. You may or may not have heard this statement before, but we'll kind of get into it here. It's basically overall, it just talks about people who are brave and courageous and do bold things. You know, success tends to follow them. So I'll kick it off with today's topic. You know, the first thing I think about with fortune favors the bold, you know, we're in 2020 now, and we're thinking about, you know, a lot of people that have their New Year's resolutions and they have all these different things that they're going to manifest this and this, that, and the other. You know, I'm not too big into New Year's resolutions each year. You know, because you see people each year, you know, you can predict some of the same ones that people may have, right? You know, it's to lose weight, to earn more money, to be debt free. You know, sometimes, you know, people have New Year's resolutions to get close to all these different things, right? And they're good, and they all have their place and their purpose, and they're other people. With the thing that I want to just press upon, you know, the viewers and the listeners, with this particular one is, you know, I think about the different words that are in that particular phrase, right? Fortune favors the bold. First thing I think about is, you know, everybody wants to be successful. Nobody wants to be considered a failure, right? So that's the fortune part, you know, whether if it's a lot of money or just doing well on your job or whatever the case may be. You know, we all want to be successful, and we all want to be thought of as, you know, doing a good job at something. Favor, you know, I think about that's, you know, that's grace, that's, you know, all those different things. And then when I think about bold, you know, I think about determination, I think about courage, I think about just, you know, continue to press forward and persevere. So when I think about the entire phrase altogether, you know, one of the things I say is, you know, you have to be determined in whatever it is that you want to do. If you want to be successful, it's going to cause you to have to, you know, have some sleepless nights sometimes, some early mornings, some late nights. It's going to do all those different things, right? So a lot of times you have to pray bold prayers, you know, it's, you know, praying for those things that, you know, you may think are unimaginable to you, but you have to pray for those different things, right? Another thing I think about is, you know, confidence. Confidence is key. Okay, that's the way I look at it. Your confidence, it sets the tone. If you believe that you can do something, then you're going to be able to do it, to more than likely. If you just believe that, you know, you're going to be mediocre, or, you know, be in lack, or have a lackluster, you know, life or performance, or whatever the case may be, your job, then more than likely that's what you're going to be doing. So, and those were going to be the things also determining on your confidence is going to be what you think and what you speak and what comes out of your mouth. You know, a lot of times, you know, some people, you know, they might not even notice it, but they may be saying things that could be hindering their fortune. They could be saying things that could be hindering their success by, oh man, I'll never get to that place. I'll never be able to go on that trip. I'll never be able to do this. And those things, man, you know, they get into your mind and they get into your psyche so much to where, you know, before you know it, you've lived half your life and you haven't done anything. But you have to be able to speak those things. You have to be able to have confidence in yourself, be able to speak those things. And going back to New Year's resolutions, a lot of times, you know, statistics will say if you write down your New Year's resolutions, you're more than likely to achieve them. So I encourage you to also not only speak the right things, speak the positivity, but write those things down. That's very important. You know, if you do have some New Year's resolutions, write them down, write all 10 of them down, or 15 or 50 of them down, whatever the case may be, and then believe it. Believe in yourself, have that confidence, have that faith that, you know, hey, down, now I got to go and put this thing in action to be able to achieve it. Those are the things I think about what fortune favors the bold. You know, you have to be determined. You have to be courageous. You have to think outside the box a lot of times. And, you know, you have to have some structure to it. That's those first things I think about when I think about that thing.
Yeah. I was thinking about it, and like I just kept on going back to like when we started this podcast and like how bold we had to be to just start it. Like, do people want to hear what we gotta say? You know, and if you're not careful, man, you'll psych yourself out and you won't do anything. Like you'll just like paralyze yourself without a doubt, and you know, just being afraid, you know, and really it's just afraid of rejection, really. But I thought about it and I was just like, man, you know, and it can be very hard starting something out, but then once you get in it and then things start working and then you start reaping benefits of it and you start getting a return in on your investment, it can be very encouraging. And people really look at it like when things just blow up, they just look from the outside and they're just like, man, it must be nice. That's what people say, man. Like that's the phrase that people say, it must be nice. But it's like, man, you don't know what I had to do to get here, man. Like you don't know everything that I had to sacrifice to get here. And like, even with, I hate to keep bringing up the pod, but even with the pod, it's like, even though you may be tired or even you may, you know, not be motivated at that moment, you got to keep on recording, you know, every week and staying with it. And like, that's something I just want to teach my son, just like you said, about how to just stick with something and just keep pushing. Like something that you believe in, something that you're passionate about, just keep on striving with it. Keep on going forward. Never psych yourself out and get discouraged. Just keep on going because you believe in it. I believe that it's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? And like faith comes into play because, you know, faith can be as simple as something as believing in something bigger than yourself, you know? And if you truly feel like what you're doing is making a better world, sometimes that's all you need to keep going forward. And I start thinking about like paying the cost to be the boss. We've heard that before. Yeah. Paying the cost to be the boss. But people always look at that boss and like, man, it must be nice. It must be nice. And like, you've been on the job and people say, you know, the boss is doing this or the boss is getting this, and why don't we get paid more? Why don't we get this? You haven't sacrificed anything. Right. That's you so haven't true. Sacrificed anything. When you come to work, you work your hours and you get paid. You taking all the risk out of it. Because if they don't pay you, then you ain't coming. You know what I'm saying? But the boss has to come whether they get paid or not. And I think we look at the big scale things, but I'm talking about on a lower level when you're starting out a business. And we say, hey, if me and you say, hey, we're going to start a business today and we're going to hire 4 guys to come in. And they're going to work for us. And we're going to pay them their salary at the end of the week. Okay, Mario, we're scheduled to make above what we have to give them. That's what the plan is. Right. But on the weeks that you just get $20 over what you're supposed to pay them, who get paid first? Does the boss get paid first? No. You got to pay your workers or you're not going to have nobody next week. Because nobody's going to come work free. So I think a lot of times, man, we just, but it's bold to go out there and say, I'm going to start a business and I'm going to pay people to work for me, but I don't know how much money is going to come. I don't know how many chicken sandwiches we're going to sell today. Yeah. But I got to pay this person that $12 an hour. That's bold. Yeah. So it's a lot of courage. Yeah. And I've noticed it, you know, even in my own life, you know, money comes and goes, man. Like, that's why I feel like we shouldn't get so caught up on it and be so tight with it. Like, release it. It's money has a certain type of energy with it. You know, when you let it go, it's free flowing, man. It goes and it comes back, so I don't know, man. I just think about it even like in my personal life and my personal business ventures is like you start making more money, but then you have more bills. And it's like, if you think about it too much, it'll stress you out because sometimes you have to pay the business's bills before the return comes, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So it's a certain amount of boldness that has to go there. That hey, I'm gonna pay everything, and with good faith and goodwill that people are gonna pay what they owe, or people are gonna come and buy our product or whatever. But that overhead got to get paid.
That's right.
Regardless, or the business is gonna fall. So with the boss being the person that's the last person to get paid. But when it becomes $1 billion organization, then you want them to pay you more. For what? You weren't there when I was eating tuna sandwiches. Because the business wasn't performing well.
Right.
You won't hear when we didn't have investors that wanted to invest in the business. So it's a lot that comes with that, man. Fortune favors the bold.
Yeah.
Because you got to be bold.
I think about something else too. Once you get to that level where, you are successful, and it's kind of like what you were talking about, where people see the success part and they see, where you are now, where you may be quote unquote on top, right? And they want that. So they want to be, I want that. I want to be where, so-and-so is. Or I want to be where Mario E and Kid is, with their podcast or whatever the case may be. But, and that's good to have aspirations and all those things. But you don't forget about the determination that it took whoever that successful person is to get there. Because if you want to operate at this level, then you have to do the things that it takes to get to that level. Again, like I said, sometimes, like you said, investing things back into the business, whatever the case may be, staying up late to edit film and all these different things.
Research,
research. Yeah, man, all that stuff, it takes time. But a lot of times people want, the quick fix. They want all the glitz and glamour and not having to do the work,
Yeah.
And that's something that, I find with our society nowadays, we want the quickness. We want the quick return. We want, and we've all been there. Sometimes you don't feel like waiting, but that's another part where I've seen where people will sit back, and that it must be nice, yeah, it is nice that they finally, got to where they were because the determination and the boldness that they had. It is nice, and not just sitting back looking at the great things that they have and totally forgetting about the determination it took, and you got to teach your kids that, that there's a price. There's a price that, successful people have to pay. We were just talking about, a situation, and, I referenced Beyonce and her being like this mega star. Like if Beyonce walks into a room, I'd say that depending on it, just about any room, most people are going to know who she is, right? Well, for her to get there, it took certain sacrifices to her to be able to get to that level of success. Right. And you may not want to get to that level of success because there's some sacrifices. Beyonce couldn't we were just talking about it. Beyonce can't walk into your local fast food restaurant and not get harassed by everybody in there for an autograph. Or, and some people might not want that level of success, but they might want a portion of that. And you got to realize that, this fortune that you want, the success that you want, it comes with the price. And it takes a certain level of determination to get there. And a lot of people only see the end result. They only see the fortune part of it and not realizing that, you know, there's some give and take there. And you got to teach your kids that, you know?
Yeah. And then two, you said something good about teaching our kids that. And we also have to teach our kids to that it's a boldness to thinking outside the box.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that often gets overlooked because we're just accustomed to just think like everybody else. And I'm not talking about conspiracies and all this fake wokeness that we live in the woke society right now where everybody's woke and everybody knows what happened before we got here and that we're smarter than everybody before us.
Yeah.
No, we have more technology than everybody before us, but I would not say that we're smarter than every generation before us. But thinking outside of the box in that when you have an idea and people may look at you like you're crazy, they may think that you're crazy, but a lot of times the guys that are geniuses and people that are obsessed with certain things, they go on to do great things because of their ideas and because they weren't thinking like everybody else. So it's like with my son, it's like, and I'll take even going to college, and you know, we're advocates for college. We're both college educated people. Mm-hmm. But college is not always the route for everybody, you know? And just because you go to college, that doesn't mean that you're going to get instant success.
Right.
And I just feel like sometimes that's pushed a lot. But it's just like, okay, if he said, I don't want to go to college, then I want to just straight up start my own business right now. You know, and I feel like, okay, you got a good idea or whatever. Am I going to just tell him, like, you need to go get your business administration degree before you start your business? Like, do I just let him live and just, you know, do what he feels he's being led to do?
Yep.
And that can be very hard to go against the grain like that.
Mm-hmm. It can.
When that's all you've known or that's all you've been told was to, you know, go to college or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just like, I just feel like we have to be that support for our kids and helping them in their decision making. I think that, you know, that they really need us in that and help teaching them how to critically think. We do that a lot in the school system, you know, but it's hard to teach people how to think critically. So, yeah. Like I said, if you want something, like I said, I think it's certain exercises that we can give our kids early on. And I've talked about this before on the podcast, where if Jonah says he needs, I want a brand new pair of tennis shoes. And these shoes are $200. Okay, son, you have $0. How do you get those? Let's brainstorm. You know, and we talked about lemonade stands and selling candy and things like this.
I'm going to say the same thing. You could, as a, you know, I've thought about this, you know, especially with the, you know, right now we're in the wintertime, and I've thought about this, and I don't have to wait until the summertime to do this, but this is just like a summertime activity that I thought about was, how much does like a 32 case of water cost, you know, at your average grocery store? You know, a case of 32 waters might cost what,
$6 maybe.
Maybe if you get the name brand, but maybe if you even get the store brand, it might be $4, right?
Food line brand.
Yeah, it might be like $3-4, right? But you know that if it's hot outside, people will pay you $1 for that bottle of water.
$1 is very reasonable on a hot day.
Yes.
Ice cold water. Yes.
So I've thought about, you know, hey, as a learning experience for my son, let's, you know, he gets an allowance for doing certain things around the house. Okay. All right. Let's go get a bottle, like a case of water. Okay. On a hot day. Then maybe we set up somewhere and we will sell out every last, you got $32 that you're going to make because you're going to sell every all those waters for $1. And you only put in what, $4 or $5, you know, to buy the water. You probably going to need to have a cooler, probably get some ice, you know, and just teach them about the aspects of business. Same thing with, you know, you go to Sam's Club, buy a whole bunch of candy, you know, and sell all those pieces of candy for at least $1, and you're gonna get you some money, you know. And that's just teaching your kids of how to be bold, to be determined, you know, to be industrious. You know, there's plenty of things out here that you can do to earn money. And it's not, again, to your point, like if you have someone that doesn't want to go to college, and that's fine. You know, someone may just, you know, want to learn a trade, and that's fine. Someone just may say, I just want to start a business, and that's fine. You don't have to go to school to major in philosophy or what have you, and, you know, get thousands of dollars in debt. I'm gonna stop. I'm going way off in left field, but that's a whole nother podcast.
No disrespect to the philosophy majors out there.
No.
Get our point.
So, yeah.
And this is too, that boldness is something that they need for life. Don't be mistaken that your kids don't need to be bold in life.
Right.
You know, it's going to be a lot of temptations there. They're going to need to be bold. They're going to need to be able to see the crowd going in this direction and then they go in the other direction. They're going to need that. And if you don't teach it, or if you don't show it, I think the best way to teach our kids is by showing them. And that brings me to my next point with you. How was your experience with showing your kids your boldness? Because you made a lot of sacrifices to get where you are in your career right now. And I know Asia's probably old enough that she saw, you know, a lot of it. Izzy maybe didn't see all of it, but you made a lot of sacrifices, but, you know, it paid off in your career. You know, what lessons do you think you taught your kids?
I think, you know, that's a good question, but I think that a lot of it was just through observing what I did. And that if you want something, you know, you got to put in the necessary time and you know, to be successful. So I think that was one thing. Another bold thing that I think that they probably witnessed is that we moved from one coast to the other.
Yep.
You know, and so I did that to further my career. And so I think that was a boldness that I was able to show my kids. And then now, doing this podcast, this is something that, you know, you and I, we talked about doing for, man, it seems like it was probably like a year and a half, 2 years, maybe, just, you know, just kind of just talking about it, you know, and it finally came into fruition about last year, this time when we said, yes, we are going to do it in 2021. And we ended up doing it. And I think that's another little data point for my kids to see, okay, you know, Dad was able to follow his, you know, his goals with his career. And then now he's journeying into, you know, working on things that have been like dreams of his that he's wanting to do. And you got to be bold and just stepping out there, not worrying about what somebody think or how you may look, but just getting out there and just doing it and learning from it and keeping at it, you know? So I think they see that, you know, and will come to respect that.
Good stuff. You got anything else?
No, bro, I don't.
All right. We thank you guys for listening to the Dad Roots podcast with Mario E. and Kid. And guys, like, subscribe, share the pod. You can download our podcast from pretty much anywhere.
All platforms.
Yep. And we'll catch you guys next time. Peace. Thank you for listening to the Dad Rules podcast with your host, Mario E. and Kid. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, follow and like us on Facebook and Instagram. You can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Breaker, and Player FM. Till next time.